The Ship of Fools, Episode 57, Father of the Missing Link. The Briefing, a Crime Against Time. The Shadow Quest hovered in orbit around a swirling temporal vortex, its hull reflecting the blue-white lightning that danced across the rift. The bridge lights dimmed as Admiral Fiona Garrick's hologram materialized, arms folded, expression carved from stone. "Commander Banning," she said, "your target is Dr. Robert Shalling, former fleet geneticist, now wanted for illegal manipulation of pre-sapient species." Moxie raised an eyebrow. "Pre-sapient as in," Garrick replied, "Earth, 5 million years ago." Snipes made a noise like a kettle boiling over. "We're going that far back? That's butterfly stepping on territory. That's accidentally inventing corn territory." Garrick ignored him. "Shalling has been altering early hominids. If he succeeds, he could rewrite the entire evolutionary chain." Banning nodded grimly. "We'll bring him in." Garrick added, "And do not, under any circumstances, contaminate the timeline." Snipes raised a hand. "Define contaminate." "Anything you would do," Garrick said. "Don't." The Shadow Quest descended through thick prehistoric clouds, emerging over a landscape untouched by civilization. Rolling savannas stretched to the horizon, broken by volcanic ridges and forests teeming with life. Massive birds soared overhead, primitive mammals scurried through the brush. The air smelled of damp earth, wildflowers, and the raw electricity of a world still figuring itself out. Moxie scanned the terrain. No cities, no roads, no coffee shops. How did people live like this? Snipes pressed his face to the viewport. "Look at all the rocks. They're so unstepped on." Banning sighed. "Stay focused. Shalling's camp is somewhere in that valley." Aurora flickered. "I detect energy signatures inconsistent with this era, likely his equipment." Banning nodded. "Gear up. We're going down." The away team materialized in a clearing surrounded by towering ferns. The air was warm, humid, and filled with the distant calls of creatures that had no names yet. Snipes immediately crouched to examine a stone. "Oh, wow! Pre-igneous sedimentary layering? This rock is older than my entire wardrobe." Moxie grabbed his collar. "Stay with the group." They moved through the brush, following Aurora's projected trail of anomalous readings. Strange footprints appeared in the mud, too large for humans, too organized for animals. Banning crouched beside one. "These aren't natural." Moxie nodded. "Someone's been training them." Snipes whispered, "Them who?" A low growl answered. The brush rustled. Shadows moved. Primitive eyes glinted from the undergrowth. Moxie raised her weapon. "We're being followed." Aurora's voice was calm. "Multiple life forms, pre-human, but their movement patterns are coordinated." Banning frowned. "Shalling has been teaching them tactics." Snipes whispered, "That's cheating." A stone tool whizzed past Snipes' head. He screamed, "We're under attack by history!" The hominids didn't attack. Not yet. They watched, studied, communicated with hand signals. Moxie muttered, "They're planning something." Snipes muttered, "I'm planning to go back to the ship." They pressed deeper into the valley. Snipes drifted a few steps off the path, just a few, to examine a particularly shiny pebble. "Look at this! It's like a proto-quartz." A vine whipped around his ankle. He had sprung a trap. He yelped as he was yanked upside down into the air. "Banning, Moxie, I've been temporarily incapacitated." Moxie turned. "You wandered off again, didn't you?" Before they could reach him, a group of pre-human hominids emerged from the brush, tall, muscular, with expressive eyes and primitive tools. Their movements were coordinated, almost militaristic. One poked Snipes with a stick. "Hey, personal space!" The hominids hoisted him onto a makeshift stretcher and carried him away. Banning cursed. "They're organized. Too organized." Moxie nodded. "Shalling is definitely behind this." Snipes awoke in a crude but functional laboratory built inside a cave. Holographic displays flickered beside stone walls. Gene sequencers hummed next to piles of bones and clay tablets. Dr. Robert Shalling stood over him, tall, gaunt, eyes burning with manic brilliance. "Ah," Shalling said, "my new donor has awakened." Snipes blinked. "Donor? Donor of what? I don't donate anything without a tax deduction." Shalling smiled. "Relax. I only need a small sample of your genetic material." Snipes screamed. "No! I like my genetic material where it is!" Shalling ignored him and activated a scanner. "You see," he said, "these hominids are promising, but they lack the human element." Snipes groaned. "Please don't call me an element while you experiment on me." Shalling continued, "With a little enhancement, I can accelerate their evolution by millions of years. Imagine fire-making, tool-using, problem-solving hominids, a new species, a better species. You'll be the father of all humanity." Snipes whimpered. "I don't want to be the father of anything." Shalling smiled. "Too late." Banning and Moxie burst into the cave, phasers drawn. "Shalling!" Banning shouted. "Step away from the engineer!" Shalling turned calmly. "You're too late!" Moxie fired a stun blast. Shalling collapsed. Snipes sagged in relief. Oh, thank goodness, he was about to take my DNA and do science with it. Banning freed him. "Are you hurt?" "Only emotionally," Snipes said, "and spiritually, and chronologically." Moxie scanned the lab. "We need to destroy his equipment and get out before we contaminate anything." Aurora flickered. "I detect no active modifications to the local population." Snipes exhaled. "Good. Then nothing weird happened." Outside the cave, a pregnant hominid female sat quietly by a fire pit Shalling had taught them to build. She touched her belly, humming softly. Inside her womb, a single embryo glowed faintly with Snipes' genetic imprint, a tiny spark of intelligence, curiosity, and engineering instinct. The first of its kind. The missing link. The ancestor who would one day teach humanity to shape tools, build shelters, and harness fire. The first engineer. The Shadow Quest emerged from the time rift, returning to their proper century. Snipes paced the bridge. "I feel weird. Do I look weird? Do I feel like someone's father?" Moxie smirked. "Relax. Nothing happened." Banning nodded. "We stopped Shalling. The timeline is intact." Aurora flickered. "Technically," Snipes froze. "What does technically mean?" Aurora paused. "It means you should avoid ancestry databases for the foreseeable future." Snipes screamed. Later, Snipes sat in his quarters surrounded by data pads, charts, and holographic family trees. He muttered to himself, "Okay, if the average generational gap is 20 years, and 5 million years divided by 20 is... oh no." He scribbled frantically. That's 250,000 generations. I could have millions of descendants." Aurora flickered beside him. "Statistically, if you contributed genetic material to a pre-human ancestor, you are related to approximately 99.999% of modern humans." Snipes stared at her. "I'm everyone's dad?" "In a manner of speaking." Snipes clutched his head. "I can't handle that responsibility. I can barely handle my laundry." Moxie leaned in the doorway. "Relax. You're not everyone's dad." Snipes exhaled. "You're everyone's great-great-great-great-great-great." "Stop!" Snipes shouted. "I get it." Banning added, Look on the bright side. You're a founding father. Snipes whimpered. I don't want to be a founding father. I want to be a guy who fixes engines and occasionally screams. Aurora added, You can still do both. Snipes collapsed onto his bunk. This is the worst day of my life. Moxie smirked. You say that every week. Epilogue. The Legacy of Snipes. The shadow quest sailed on through the stars. Snipes sat quietly in engineering, staring at his hands. Do these look ancestral to you? He asked. Moxie rolled her eyes. Snipes, you're fine. Banning added, The timeline survived, humanity survived, and you're still you. Aurora flickered. And statistically, you are now the most influential engineer in human history. Snipes blinked. Really? Yes. He sat up straighter. Well, I guess that's kind of cool. Moxie smirked. Don't let it go to your head. Snipes grinned. Too late, he said, drinking out of a mug that read, Number 1 Dad. The shadow quest continued onward, carrying a crew who had no idea that one of them had just become the unwitting father of humanity's greatest evolutionary leap. End of episode 57, to be continued.